I watched her through the grainy, green-tinted night vision of the camera. She was sitting on the floor of our son's nursery, her face just inches from the lens, whispering words into the microphone that weren't meant for me. Her voice was low, suggestive, and filled with a hunger I hadn't heard in years. Then I pressed the talk button on the parent unit in my hand. "He's not coming tonight, Elena," I said, my voice booming through the little speaker in the nursery. The way she screamed, a raw, jagged sound of pure, unadulterated terror as she scrambled backward into the crib, told me everything I needed to know. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand why that scream was the most satisfying thing I've ever heard, and how it signaled the death of the life I thought I knew, I need to take you back to where the rot first started. 6 months ago, if you had asked anyone in our leafy suburb of Willow Creek about Mark and Elena, they would have told you we were the gold standard. I'm an architectural engineer, Elena is a neonatal nurse, and our son, Leo, was the miracle we'd waited 4 years for. We had the house with the wraparound porch, the Friday night tradition of making homemade pesto pizzas, and a marriage that felt like a fortress. Elena used to call me her North Star. I believed her. I really did. But looking back, the first crack appeared on a Tuesday in October. It was something small. It always is. I noticed Elena had become obsessed with the new high-tech baby monitor system we'd bought. It was one of those top-of-the-line units with 4K video, night vision, and a two-way talk feature that worked through an app or a dedicated parent unit. She'd spend hours positioning the cameras, not just in Leo's room, but a secondary one in the playroom. She told me it was because she was anxious about him rolling over in his sleep. That should have been my first warning. The sudden sharp pivot from being a relaxed, confident mother to someone who was constantly glued to the monitor feed. But what came next was so much worse. The unraveling didn't happen all at once. It was a slow drip of inconsistencies. It started with her extra shifts at the hospital. Elena had always worked hard, but suddenly she was picking up 3 or 4 night shifts a week. She'd come home looking exhausted, but also wired, high on adrenaline. When I'd try to hug her, she'd lead with her shoulder, a subtle physical barrier that hadn't been there before. "Just tired, Mark. The NICU was heavy tonight," she'd mutter, heading straight for the shower. If that was all I found, maybe I could have let it go. Maybe I would have just chalked it up to postpartum stress or burnout. But then I noticed the glitch in the monitor. One night, while Elena was supposedly at the hospital, I woke up at 2 a.m. to check on Leo. I grabbed the parent unit from the nightstand. The screen was black. I tapped it, but it said, "Camera in use by another device." That was impossible. I was the only one home, and the app was only installed on my phone and Elena's. I checked my phone. I wasn't logged in. That meant Elena, sitting in a hospital break room miles away, was watching our sleeping son. It felt sweet at first, until I saw the logs. The camera hadn't just been viewed. The two-way audio had been active for 45 minutes. Who was she talking to in an empty nursery? I started watching her, not in a creepy way, but with the desperate, sinking feeling of a man who knows his floor is about to give way. I noticed she started taking the parent unit, the handheld screen, into the bathroom with her when she showered. She'd lock the door, and I'd hear the faint murmur of her voice over the sound of the running water.
I checked our shared iPad one afternoon while she was napping. I wasn't looking for an affair. I was looking for a reason to trust her. But then I saw it. An app I didn't recognize, disguised as a calculator. I'm an engineer. I know how to dig. I bypassed the simple code, and my heart didn't just drop. It shattered. There were hundreds of screenshots of the baby monitor feed, but they weren't of the baby. They were of her. She'd been using the camera as a webcam, posing for someone on the other side. And the messages, they were with a man named Julian. I recognized the name immediately. He was the personal trainer from the gym she joined to get her strength back after the pregnancy. The messages revealed a sick, twisted game. They didn't just meet at hotels. They used our house. Julian would come over on the nights I was at my firm's late-night project meetings. But the worst part, the part that made me want to vomit right there on the hardwood floor, was that when they couldn't meet, they used the baby monitor to talk. She'd give him the login, and they would use the two-way audio like a private, encrypted phone line. She thought it was genius. No call logs on the phone, no history on WhatsApp. Just a direct, live link through the nursery. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a one-time thing. This was a choreographed betrayal. She was mocking me, using the very tool meant to protect our son to facilitate her filth. I knew exactly what I was going to do, but I had to be patient. I spent the next 3 days acting completely normal. I kissed her goodbye, I ate the pizza she made, I listened to her complain about her long shifts. Inside, I was a block of ice. I was meticulously setting the stage. She had no idea what was coming. I told her I had to go to Chicago for a site visit. "I'll be gone overnight, honey. My brother is going to drop by to help with the lawn, so don't be startled if you hear someone outside." "Oh, don't worry about that," she said, her eyes lighting up with a spark that turned my stomach. "Leo and I will be fine. We'll probably just have an early night." I didn't go to Chicago. I drove 3 blocks away, parked my truck in a friend's garage, and walked back to our neighbor's yard. They were on vacation, and I had their spare key. I sat in their darkened guest room with the baby monitor parent unit in my lap and my laptop open, patched into the secondary camera in the playroom. I waited. For 2 hours, nothing. Then, at 10 p.m., I saw her. Elena walked into the nursery. Leo was at my mother's house. I'd convinced her that we needed a night to catch up on sleep before my trip. Elena knew the house was empty. She was wearing a silk robe I'd bought her for our anniversary. She sat down on the floor, right in front of the camera, and propped her phone up. I watched her log into the monitor app. On my parent unit, the light turned blue. She was connected. "Are you there?" she whispered. Her voice came through my speaker, crystal clear. "I miss you. Today was so long." A man's voice responded, Julian. It sounded tinny and distorted through the monitor speaker, but the intimacy in it was unmistakable. "I'm here, baby. Is the coast clear? Is the engineer out of town?" "He's gone," she giggled. A sound that used to be my favorite thing in the world now sounded like nails on a chalkboard. "He's so predictable. He actually thinks I'm working tomorrow. I told him I'd be sleeping in." "Good," Julian said. "I'm 10 minutes away. Leave the back door unlocked. I want to see you in that nursery before we go to the bedroom. I like the idea of us being in his space."
My blood didn't just run cold, it turned to mercury. The disrespect, the sheer audacity of bringing that man into my son's room, into the sanctuary we'd built for him, it snapped something inside me. I had planned to just record them and leave, to let the lawyers handle it. But hearing him talk about his space? No, this needed to be visceral. I watched her on the screen. She was preening, adjusting her hair, laughing at something he said. She looked so happy, so free. She looked like a woman who had successfully deleted her husband from her life. I waited until I saw his headlights pull into our driveway on the secondary camera. I waited until I heard the faint click of the back door opening. I waited until I heard his heavy footsteps on the stairs, heading toward the nursery where she sat waiting like a prize. She was leaning toward the camera, whispering, "He's here, Julian. I'll see you in a second." That's when I hit the button. "He's not coming tonight, Elena," I said. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I spoke with the cold, rhythmic precision of an architect measuring a grave. The reaction was instantaneous. Elena's entire body jolted as if she'd been hit by a high-voltage wire. She let out a scream so loud it distorted the microphone, a piercing, animalistic shriek of pure terror. She threw herself backward, hitting the slats of the crib, her eyes wide and darting around the room as if the walls themselves were speaking to her. "Mark," she gasped, her voice trembling so hard she could barely form the word. "Mark, where are you?" "I'm everywhere, Elena," I said, watching her through the lens. On the other camera, I saw Julian freeze in the hallway. He looked like a deer caught in the brightest high beams of his life. I'm in the nursery, I'm in the playroom, I'm in the calculator app on the iPad, and I'm in the driveway where the police are about to arrive because I reported a prowler entering my home while I was away. I watched the color drain from her face. In 4K resolution, I saw the exact moment her world collapsed. She looked at the camera lens, really looked at it, and realized she wasn't looking at a lover. She was looking at the man she had destroyed.
and he was looking back with eyes that no longer recognized her. Julian didn't even say goodbye. I watched him on the hallway camera turn and bolt. He practically fell down the stairs in his haste to get out. He left her there. I walked across the yard, entered through the front door, and met her at the top of the stairs. She was shaking, her robe disheveled, tears streaming down a face that was now a mask of frantic, pathetic excuses. "Mark, it's not what it looks like. We were just talking. I was lonely." I held up my hand. I didn't want to hear the script. I already heard the live performance. "The house is being listed on Monday," I said, my voice eerily calm even as my heart hammered against my ribs. "Your things are already packed in the garage. I did it while you were at your extra shift yesterday. My lawyer has the footage. The prowler footage, the nursery footage, all of it." She tried to grab my arm, her fingernails digging into my skin. "You can't do this. We have a son." "Exactly," I said, stepping back so her hand fell into empty air. "Get out, Elena." The divorce was finalized in record time. The footage from the baby monitor, the very thing she thought was her secret playground, became the primary evidence of her character. I didn't seek to ruin her, but I didn't protect her either. The truth has a way of doing its own dirty work.
Today, I live in a smaller place, just me and Leo on the weekends. It's quiet. There are no cameras, no hidden apps, and no extra shifts. Sometimes when I'm tucking him in, I look at the new basic monitor on his dresser, the one that doesn't even connect to the internet. I remember that scream, and the way the green light of the night vision made her look like a ghost of the woman I used to love. I thought that night destroyed everything, but standing here now, watching my son sleep in a house filled with nothing but honesty, I realize it didn't destroy my life. It just finally turned the lights on. And honestly, I've never seen things more clearly.